The housing market is on fire all across the nation and especially here in the Atlanta metro area. We're seeing price increases in the double digits year over year the last few years. We have sellers that are used to getting multiple offers on their home within hours of them putting it on the market. And we have buyers that are willing to spend way over the asking price and waive things like inspections, appraisals, and financing contingencies just to get into the home because it's the one that's available in the area that they want to be in. So some are led to believe that this is going to create another housing crash. But is it? Most experts do not believe we are heading towards another crash. And I'm going to talk to you today about 6 indications or 6 reasons why we are not heading into another crash. Perhaps a correction, but definitely not a crash. Let's talk about those things. So one of the things like no doc loans, where the buyer was simply stating their income and there was no verification being done. Many people had low credit scores and they were still getting sold loans that they couldn't afford. And unfortunately, when it all came down to it, when a person who's really making $40,000 a year is given a $600,000 interest-only loan, when that note came due, they couldn't afford to pay it. So there were many instances like this, and that contributed to, unfortunately, the many foreclosures that would come to pass. That was one of the main things that was changed, and that's very different. These days, according to the Federal Reserve Bank in a third quarter 2021 report, the average credit score of our buyers today is 786. And according to Peter Warden of the Mortgage Reports, the average buyer is putting down at least 12% on their mortgage. What does that mean? That they have more skin in the game and they have much more to lose if they were to default on the payment of their mortgage. Most people are stating their income, but all of that is now being verified and double verified by government regulations, so that when a person gets a mortgage at that time, we know more that they can afford to pay it back. It's not just because they say they can pay it back. So another contributing factor that differentiates this market to the crash of 2008 is we have a severe inventory shortage. We have approximately 1 house for every 20 buyers. According to the Georgia Association of Realtors last February report, we have an inventory of approximately 1.4 months in the Atlanta market. In some areas, we have less than a month's worth of inventory. In a balanced market, we'll have anywhere from 3 to 6 months of inventory. And what that means is if no other home were to come on the market, it would take 3 to 6 months to sell all of those homes. Currently, we have less than a month's worth of homes. So again, we have 1 home for every 20 buyers. This is the opposite of what happened in 2008. From 2004, 2006, we had an abundance of homes. We were very much in a buyer's side market. In a seller's market, 1 house for every 20 buyers is going to help those sellers increase their sales price. Not so much a help for the buyers, but it just kind of creates that frenzy. So another factor that is different from today's market versus the 2008 market is the interest rates. The interest rates are at a historical low and have been for several years and for several reasons. But for today's discussion, I want to point out that today's interest rates, the average are about 3%, although in the last month or so, we have gone as high as 4.5%. The interest rates of yesteryear, 2004, 5, 6, were upwards of 6 to 7.5% if you were getting a 30-year mortgage, according to Ali Wolf, a financial journalist for Fortune magazine. That means that it was more expensive to borrow money back in those days. In today's day, it's less expensive. It's actually making housing more affordable, and you can get more house for your money. Our next difference would be new construction and home building. Quite frankly, the new construction business dropped way down in 2007, and they never ramped up their production again. Many home builders actually went out of business in the crash of 2008. They went belly up. You may remember seeing what we call the drain pipe cemeteries all over metro Atlanta, and they started rebuilding those in about 2010, 2011, 2012, but they never ramped up to the production that they had been prior to. So what this has done in today's market is it's kind of contributed to the under inventory and homes that we have available. It's put more pressure on resale homes that we don't have enough of. And home builders have now had to contend with supply chain issues. So again, that contributing to the low inventory issue that we have, we are simply not going to get the new construction homes available to compete with the resale market. Again, kind of keeping that inventory down and keeping that seller's market alive and well. Our next differentiating topic would be demographics. We have an abundance of millennials that are in market currently and continue to come into the housing market as they get older and as their family needs change, as they graduate, as they have families, as they expand their families. So last year, we had approximately 37% of all new homeowners that were part of the millennials. An exciting demographic for me personally, I love working with, are 17% of first-time homebuyers in 2020, according to the Homebuyers and Sellers Guide for the National Association of Realtors, were single women, first-time homebuyers. And again, that is contributing to the continued growth of the demographics that have that purchasing power within the market currently. We did not have those same numbers back in 2006, 7, and 8. Unfortunately, a lot of folks that had graduated college, that had lost jobs during that recession, had to move back in with mom and dad. Today's millennials are a little bit more apt to want to purchase their own homes if they are in a position to do so. And again, 37% of first-time homebuyers last year were millennials. And the very last topic I'm going to talk about today are foreclosures, which frankly in today's market are non-existent. And there are a reason why they are essentially non-existent as opposed to back in 2008 and the beginning of the crash. Most home buyers, as I talked to earlier, have skin in the game. They have a substantial amount of money tied up in their down payment and in their principal amount of the home. So if they were to be foreclosed on, they could stand to lose a lot of money, especially when you're talking about cash buyers, which we have a good chunk of the market doing right now. I won't get into that today, but back in 2005, and 6 and 7, when this market started bubbling up and before it burst, you had a lot of people going into interest-only loans, those no doc stated income loans where their income hadn't been verified, they lost jobs that they couldn't have afforded to pay the mortgage anyway, and unfortunately, they hadn't put any money down, they hadn't paid any money towards the principal, and then all of a sudden they were upside down on a mortgage where they owed more than they could sell it for because there was an abundance of inventory. So it was just a perfect storm of all of these factors that contributed to the home buyers, and about 6 million of them decided it was actually going to be easier for them to simply foreclose on the home than it would be for them to try and sell it in a market where there is an abundance of inventory and options for buyers. In today's market, again, they have much more money in the game. They don't want to lose that down payment. They don't want to lose the equity that they have in their home. And with double-digit appreciation sales prices, most home buyers are moving into their home and within a month might have equity in their home. So it's really not in their best interest to simply let it go. We have less than 1% of the homes sales in today's market are foreclosures because they can sell it on the resale market and make money. So this is a huge contributing factor as to why today's market is nothing like the market that happened and the crash that happened in 2008. So in conclusion, I think we can all agree that the contributing circumstances to today's housing market are not the same as what contributed to the crash of 2008. According to Greg McBride, the chief financial analyst for Bankrate, what we should expect to see in the coming years is a plateau, not a steep decline in the housing market. So don't sit back and wait for that $400,000 house to then be worth $200,000. That's not what's going to happen in this market. We're going to stop seeing the double-digit price increases year over year, but that $400,000 house that might be worth $440,000 in the crazy competitive market next year is maybe going to be worth $410,000 to $415,000, which would be a normal increase. Talk with a trusted real estate agent. And let me just say as a disclaimer, I am a licensed real estate agent for the state of Georgia, but I am not a fortune teller. So there's really no guarantee that if something catastrophic were to happen to our economy, that some of these changes might repeat themselves like 2008. But again, the financial experts are saying that the signs do not point to the crash of 2008, just a correction. If you have any questions or want to talk more about real estate, I'd love to talk to you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a great night and good luck with you.